Shalom, ladies, and welcome to Coffee and Connection, episode 140. Oh, so excited to be here, and I cannot believe that we are doing our pre-Purim Coffee and Connection. It's crazy that we're here. I am not ready, but please God, I have another week to get ready. Please God, in a week from now, I'll please God be either in the middle of or cleaning up from my Purim Suda here in Yerushalayim. So we likely will not have coffee and connection next week, unless maybe I'll see if I can send something out that will be ready, like have something ready to send you. Maybe we'll do it a different day next week. I'll have to look at my calendar and see if I can fit it in a different day next week. But next Monday, we will not be having coffee and connection live unless you all want to join me at my Suda, which I never know what's going to be going on at that time. So it's probably not such a good idea to make a public invitation. But of course, if you're in Jerusalem, do not hesitate to stop by, and I'd love to see you. So today's topic is really, I'm actually really excited to do it. It's something that's been on my mind, and it's really going to be the first of a couple of episodes that I'd like to do on the topic of like what's holding us back? What's holding us back from being the women we want to be, having the results that we want to have? What's the resistance that we're having? And I've been studying a lot about this topic. It's something that I've been talking about with my mastery clients nonstop the last few weeks that has been creating breakthrough after breakthrough that is really like a key that opens up so many gates. And I want to share at least some of the information that I can with you. And the first aspect of it is one that we can really connect to the concept of Purim and what it is that we're part of the celebration, part of the way that we commemorate, the way that we not just commemorate, but reenact, right? Because all of our Hagim are not just like they tried to kill us, we won, let's eat, like the joke goes, but we're really like, we're really revisiting and in some way recreating the holiday, right? Just today, I was trying to get my son to tell me like, what is it that you want? I need to make sure we have your costume. What do you want? What do I need to go get? And he goes, well, what do we dress up? What do we dress up anyways? Which was a really good question to ask, right? Like as a 7-year-old who's been dressing up, all for so many years, and like, what is this all about? So I was like, just ask up. Like I usually try to give these like very type of answers that are a little bit more like intellectual or whatever. And the kids are like, I don't understand. So sometimes it's better to leave the easier answers. My husband has a knack for explaining very, very deep Jewish concepts in a way that everybody can understand. So I said, ask Abba what, and he said to him, how many times does it say Hashem's name in the Megillah that Hashem saved us? And none, right? Well, that's because, but who saved us? Hashem saved us, and Hashem was hiding, and that's why we wear costumes. We're like reenacting it. We are hiding. And at the same time, when we hide, when we put on a costume, what we're also recognizing, just like Purim is the time where we recognize, wait, Hashem wasn't just hiding in the events of the Purim story. He wasn't just hiding in the politics and the tragedies and the seemingly unconnected events that were going on in the Purim story. Hashem is always hiding behind the scenes and making everything happen that's happening, right? And like please God today, Hashem is making everything happen. He's there kind of directing, and he's there whether we see him or not, right? If we choose to see him, we will see him. Like it says it's Tehillim, I think, that Hashem wears nature like a mask, like a costume, right? Hashem wears as like a garment. That's what it is. So he wears nature as a garment, as a beged, from the word bagad, also, which means like treachery. He's hiding. And in some ways, you can look at nature and say, "Oh, that's nature." And in some ways, you can look at nature and say, when you know it's Hashem, you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing," right? Same way that we look at the Purim story and we say, "Oh my gosh, like Hashem is not just here, not just by Mimahem, Bazman Hazeh. He wasn't just in those days in the politics, but even today, he's here." The same way for us when we put on a costume where we say, like, I'm hiding, we get to realize, wait, I'm not just hiding today on Purim when I put on the costume and pretending to be a queen or a princess or, whatever we pretend to, whatever costume we put on. I'm always wearing a costume. There's a mask that I'm always wearing. And this is where we get curious about ourselves. What masks are we wearing? Where are we hiding? I want to tell you a story. It's a real story. It's a story that happened to me a few years ago. It was really a life-changing story, a life-changing event. I think I've shared a little bit of the story at some point, but I want to share a certain aspect of it, which is really important. Um, Back in, I'm going to say almost 10 years ago. It's probably no, it's about 6 plus years ago. I went to an event that my coach put on. I went to meet her. Went to this 3-day event in Florida. I was very nervous. I think that's the part I've shared with you all. I was very nervous and very excited at the same time to go. And part of my once I got there, once I arrived, part of my anxiety was this feeling of I really on the plane, I made a dedication to myself. I made a dedication to Hashem. I said, I'm going away from my family for however many days it was. I think I arranged it so I was only like really not home for like 4 full days. It was like over 6 days, but whatever. And I really want this time to be like, I wanna come back in a way where showing up for my family and showing up for my clients and showing up for my community in a different way. Like, this has to be I want this to be life-changing. This is going to create a shift. This is going to allow when everything please God, everything should go well, and my dedication is that this will create a shift in who I am being and how I am showing up for everyone in my life. But there was a problem because to really have a real life-changing experience in these events, you got to actually show up. And I don't just mean physically. You can't just be in the room taking notes. You have to participate. You have to be a part of it. You have to get up and share. You have to speak to the people around you. You have to be seen. And I knew that I was likely, and I was going to be the only very clearly religious Jewish woman at the event. And that was in some ways very scary because, I want to be like very much believe in this concept of us being an Or Goyim, that we are here to show the world and teach the world and bring God into the world. That is like so much of what I daven for every day to be able to bring Hashem into the world. And here I'm going to stand up and share my problems. I'm going to show myself as an imperfect being. Then everyone's going to look at me and say, "Oh, that religious Jew, like who is she?" And I was really worried about that. I was really worried about being my authentic real self and taking off the mask, that facade of everything's okay, everything's amazing, everything's perfect, and actually getting the coaching that I needed, actually getting the transformation that I needed. And I wasn't sure how I was gonna make that happen. And I davened about it, and I really like, every moment, I was really trying to make the most of every single moment and dedicate it to this. And on the first day, I'm sitting there, and I'm listening to her speak, and I'm writing notes. This was Friday, so I could write notes that day, writing notes, writing everything down, and there was an exercise that we did that something clicked for me. Something clicked, and I knew I just felt it, like, I need to be coached on this. I need to get up. I was not someone who would ever, at that point in my life, have gotten up in front of a room full of people in that way. I have to tell you, at that point in the absolute feminine world, there were no Zooms. There was everything was on the phone. I was definitely hiding. I was terrified of just speaking to all of you. Everything was pre-written and scripted because I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have the ability to get up out of my introversion and like speak in front of a room full of people, let alone get on a mic, in at the I was wearing like a fall. I was very clearly though, like I actually have a picture of it. It was that I got sent afterwards. And I said, I'm doing it. I need to. I need to get up and share. I need to get up and get coached on this. And I got up and I went to the microphone and I still get like I still tear up when I think this. Like this is real. I stood in front of that mic and I let my heart and my soul out. And I spoke from my heart what was opening up for me, what was still holding me back. And I remember my coach getting down from the stage and saying, "I want to coach her face." So she turned to her sister she was doing with and said, this is very important. I need to be face to face with her." And she got off the stage and she went in front of me on the mic and she took my hands and she coached me through like one of the most pivotal moments of my life that really allows me to be here in front of you right now and does, thank God, allow me to be the woman that I am today, show up for my family differently, show up for all of you differently. And even at the time, I was so scared. I was so nervous. And I was so worried. What are people going to think of me when, like, here, this is what I have to tell you. When I finished, that coaching moment finished, we went a few minutes, a little bit later, I went to sit down. Everybody's giving me hugs. Everyone's smiling at me. We went on break like an hour later. There was a lineup of people, a lineup of women that wanted to speak to me, that were just like, wow, you inspired me. Oh my goodness, I learned so much. I realized something about myself. I want to tell you about my Jewish background. Like everyone just, my fear that everyone's going to be like, who is this woman? And yet everyone wanted to connect. And what I saw in that moment so powerfully is that our biggest fears are holding us back from the thing we want so badly in our lives. I could have sat in the corner of that ballroom, terrified of like not shining a light and just written notes of like terrified of like making some type of Chil Hashem or whatever and just written notes and not done anything. But it was by getting up and speaking and sharing and taking off my mask that I shined a light. Why am I sharing this all with all of you? This is the point is like this. We all have the masks that we're wearing. We live in a society where we are very much encouraged to put on a mask. We're like you can't go anywhere, you can't look at anything. You can't open a magazine, you can't open a message from a friend on an app. You can't research something without being confronted. You can't even talk to friends without being confronted by this like very loud message of, life should look like this. I can't even do it. Like perfect, I can't do it. I can't even do it. See, this isn't picture perfect. There's a thing you could do with your hands where it looks like a phone or a computer, right? Life should be perfect. Everything should be picture perfect. Your kitchen should be pristine. Even today, everything's in beiges and whites and browns. Everything's like perfect. And you go out and you're supposed to have it all together. And I remember a few times trying to open up to people, just like, sharing something and, oh my gosh, is everything okay? And you're like, yeah, this is just like normal. Like, there's no like, there's so much, even just with our friends, we don't know how much can we share without the fear that everyone will look at me and think something's wrong. We wear these masks because it's this society around us that really gives us the impression that life should be perfect. And if you don't have it all together, then something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with your parenting. Something's wrong with your marriage. Something's wrong with your husband if he's not some like, you know, character in a romance novel, which is just a feminized male, right? If he doesn't always do everything that you were taught that men should do, then something's wrong with him. Everything's about like we have to put on this facade and then we all keep doing it. And the problem is that when we never take off the mask, first and foremost with ourselves, we're never real with ourselves. What's working? What's not working? What's hurting me? What do I want help with? And when we're not real with the people who could actually give us the support that we need. If I wasn't real with myself about what I needed help with, if I wasn't real with my coach, if I didn't tell her what was actually going on for me in my heart and I pretended to have it all together, I would never have had the breakthrough. I would never be living the life that I'm living right now. So here's the thing, and this is why I think it's really important to bring this up here. Over the last few weeks, there's nothing on the table right now. This is not a sales pitch. This is not about why don't you buy. This is has nothing to do with that. I'm not offering anything right now. I'm just talking to you, okay? Over the last few weeks, after feedback from many, many hundreds of women and years of speaking to women, I took what the feedback I'd gotten from women as to what they wanted, and I created something amazing, something in the way that women wanted it. And I offered it. And some women jumped on the opportunity, and I acknowledge you for it. I'm so excited, and it's amazing the results that women are already sharing that they're getting. Many of you didn't. And not only did you not jump in, which I understand, it may not be the right thing for everyone, I also offered many times to share with me your questions, to share with me your concerns, to share with me like what's coming up for you, right? And that's really important for me to know so that I can help you, so that I can support you, so I can know what you want and how I can help you. But when I asked the questions, there weren't responses. And I'm going to invite you for yourself to get curious. What is it that you're holding back from sharing? What's not just stopping you from jumping into a program, jumping into getting the results that you want? We're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about more about resistance over the next few weeks. Not just what's the resistance you may be feeling about creating the results that you want. What's even holding you back from sharing your questions, sharing your concerns with someone who genuinely is here to help you and who's here to support you, who you're listening to right now. So it must be that please God, you do, feel that I can help you. I invite you to get curious with yourself. What's holding you back? And you're even welcome to take me up on it and send me an email and share it with me. We can be so scared to be seen, so scared to show up for ourselves that we actually end up holding ourselves back from the one thing we're most davening for, the one thing we most want. When I went on that weekend, like I shared, what I most wanted was to be a light. I davened so hard. I remember on the flight, I'm actually afraid of flying. I've kind of gotten over it a little bit with the traveling that I've been doing over the last few years, but I was very afraid of flying by myself. And I remember diving on that plane, please let me get there safely. Please, to get home safely and to shine a light when I'm there, to shine a light when I come home. I was so dedicated to being a meaningful and like a real, for it to really make a difference. And if I had allowed my fear of how will people see me to not get, if I had allowed it to take hold of me, I would have missed out on the light that I got to be at the event and afterwards. And I invite you to consider, what's the fear that's acting as your mask right now, that's holding you back from shining forward, right? We know that it just came to me now, like Moshe had to put on a mask when he came down from Har Sinai with the second lucho because he was shining too much light. And so it was too much. He was so radiant from having seen whatever of Hashem Shechina Hashem allowed him to see that he had to keep a mask on his face. It's part of, we don't really think about that part of the story, but there's a whole thing about why they think Jews have horns. There's a whole thing with anyways, the mask that we wear, that we hide behind, it's hiding our light. It's stopping us from being able to create what we want, whether that's shining our light out to our families, creating the relationships we want to have, being the women we want to be, having the marriages we want to have, raising our children the way we want them to be raised. And I'm going to invite you as we get ready for Purim and you're getting the costumes ready. So to keep in mind what's the costume that I'm wearing. And as you're preparing your mishloach manot, which is all about connection, right? Because that was my son's next question this morning. Why do we send mishloach manot? And that's very clear. It says Haman said about us that we were an mufuzar mufurad. We were all disconnected. It's so easy to kill them. They're not even connected with each other. Baruch Hashem, we see how wrong he was, right? It's when you look how connected and strong we can be. And please God, we should be connected for good things, all good things in Klal Yisrael and all the Jewish people as we're doing the things that connect us, preparing Mishloach Manot, getting our Suda ready, going to shul to hear the Megillah, like connection. Purim, a lot of it is connecting. Let's think about what is the masks that we are wearing. What are the costumes that we have on of pretending we have it all together? And I'm not saying we can just take them off and just spill our dirty laundry to everyone. Like the right place and the right time, 100%. But to know that there's nothing wrong with having dirty laundry. We all have it, right? As my mother says, unless you're doing your laundry naked, you always have more laundry to do, right? We all have dirty laundry. The laundry doesn't make us bad. The laundry doesn't make us incompetent. The laundry doesn't make it mean that something's wrong. The laundry needs to be cleaned. The laundry needs to be washed and hung and dried and folded and put away. And I've never thought of this analogy before, but that's very much what we get to do when we acknowledge the struggles and we find the right way and the right place to deal with them. We're not ignoring it. We're not just bleaching it all and whitewashing it and saying it doesn't exist. This is a good analogy, right? We're not throwing it out. We're not saying you better go get a new wardrobe because all your laundry is dirty. We're saying, okay, this is an issue. Yes, it's often a daily issue. We need to deal with it. Now, what needs to be washed in hot water? What needs to be washed in cold water? What needs to be hung? What needs to be put in the dryer? Like we need to lisader. We need to fold it and put it away. We need to deal with it. And to do that, we need skills and we need tools and we need understanding and we need empathy and we need a system to handle it best. That's that's the reality. We have the challenges and we can deal with them. So I'm going to, yes, invite you once again to think about what is that fear? What is that mask? What is even the concern or the question or the issue that has been holding you back? Whether from joining the Absolutely Feminine program last week or from anything else that you know will make a difference for you. What is holding you back from making a difference? And you're welcome to share it. Send me an email. And so that you can know that it's only through taking off that mask that you actually get to shine your light and be who you want to be in the world. There is so much that we can bring to the world. We have to find the courage. I think 2 years ago, I did 2 or 3 years ago already, I did my talk on, I think in 2 weeks, I split up my talk on Esther. You're welcome to go into the archives if you can find it. But the idea of Esther needed so much courage to do what she did. So much courage. She sat at the back of the room for many years and just did what everyone told her to do. And in that moment, she needed the courage to stand up and do what she needed to do. And was it difficult? Yes. Was it painful? Yes. Please God, we should never be in such a situation that she was in. She had to give up so much. And in the end of the story, she is still in the palace. It's true. It's not such a perfect, happy ending. Life doesn't always have, and they lived happily ever after. But what we can tune into is her courage, the strength that she had to say, okay, I'm going to do what I need to do. This is why I'm here to do this work. I'm not going to sit in the back. I'm going to get up and I'm going to shine my light. I'm going to do what needs to be done. I'm going to be who I need to be. I'm going to find the courage. And please God, we should all find the courage that we need to step up and take off the masks in the right time to be the women that we want to be with our families and for all of Klal Yisrael. I wish you all a very, very happy Purim. We should please God have a Purim that we can fully celebrate with all our hearts, together with our families, together with all of Am Yisrael. And Hashem should bless us to only be able to grow in our simcha, grow in our awareness of like Hashem is with us at all times, and the awareness of to keep giving ourselves that awareness of what is behind the mask. Who am I really, and what am I hiding, and why am I hiding it? That's a little of what we got to speak about together today. So I hope this was helpful for all of you. Again, a very, very happy Chag Purim Sameach. And please God, I'll see you again in 2 weeks. And unless we have one at some point next week, but I'll send you an email and give you an update. And until then, may we all be blessed to live, love, and be loved with all our hearts. Goodbye for now.